Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wake Up with Gratitude podcast. I'm your host, Julie Boyer, and I'm very excited to have another special guest with me today. Please welcome Cynthia Brace. Good morning.
Morning.
I'm so happy to have you here and that we get to do this together. Cynthia and I have a lot in common. We really have this passion for nutrition, health, wellness, and mindset. And she is actually a registered holistic nutritionist and a Reiki practitioner. And she's been in this profession for 20 years. So she really understands not only the nutrition part of things, but she does a lot of focus on mindset and stress management. So you might be nervous about, working with a nutritionist. You might feel like it's something really restrictive, but the way Cynthia works is it's really all about shifting in mindset, creating new habits, and really not learning a diet, but actually learning new ways to treat your body and to be healthy. So that's what's really exciting about having Cynthia today on the podcast. I want to hear all about this kind of work that she does. I know that gratitude is infused in what she does. But before I go any further, Cynthia, can you tell us a little bit about this story of how you became a health coach?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me here, Julie. So it's aged me there, telling me how long I've been doing this. A long time ago, my background is interior design as well. I have a degree to do interior design. But I was working in that field and I had asthma and allergies as a child, and that just continued on, and it didn't really faze me, thinking, okay, well, everybody has these, there's something I can do about it. But I went through a time where I really wasn't feeling well. I was dizzy and it just like, this is not right. I just did not feel right. And for somebody who doesn't go to the doctor all that often for things, I went to the doctor to say, hey, what's going on here? And she ended up telling me, just from my symptoms, that I had hypoglycemia, which is honestly not the end of the world. But realistically, she told me that there was absolutely nothing that she could do for me, which is a challenge because, when you're not feeling well, you really want some help and direction. And I understand that she couldn't help me. And that's, now I'm very grateful for that experience because it kind of led me in the direction of where I am today. It's a diet related challenge. So there was really nothing, she couldn't prescribe anything. She couldn't do anything in that manner.
Oh my gosh, I have to pause. I sneezed in the podcast for the first time ever. So I apologize for interrupting your story. Cynthia, you were just telling us about your doctor, how she was not able to help you when you were dealing with hypoglycemia, which ended up being a catalyst and a turning point for you. So if you can continue the story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously I was a little frustrated. I didn't know what to do. I was feeling horrible. And I was like, and I'm the type of person where I'm like, okay, enough is enough. This is not going to happen for the rest of my life. Let me figure it out. And I like to be learning things. I like to be in a classroom. So I read everything about it and really changed what I was doing. I did a lot myself. I started taking classes at the naturopathic college, which led me to become friends with a naturopath. And we took Reiki together and moved along Reiki because I love it so much. And then I took reflexology. And moved along to nutrition. So by the time I got into actually training for nutrition, my hypoglycemia was pretty much non-existent, as were my allergies and asthma. So I was 100% different than when I started that journey. And yes, it did take many years because I was kind of doing it myself. But as I say, I'm so grateful for what happened because, it wasn't a life-threatening thing that I had, but it did change my life so much. And now I'm able to help people who have those challenges, who have health challenges, and I'm able to kind of help them in my way and then direct them to other people that can help them as well.
I have a question for you that I'm not sure, we didn't really talk about this before, but I'm curious because you said you were taking courses at the naturopathic college. Was there a reason why you chose to go the direction of nutritionist and, with the Reiki and the reflexology, as opposed to continuing to study as a naturopathic doctor potentially?
Absolutely. If I had originally started my training then, or had this before, I'm a registered interior designer. I was
Right.
already in that profession. So I was actually working as a designer, a registered
Okay.
interior designer, as I was doing all of these things.
Okay.
So I was still able to take that training and help people while doing, I still help people build beautiful spaces. I can't give that up. It's a part of my
Oh,
creativity as
okay. So
well.
so the nutrition began as like a side thing, right? It was not,
I did.
you still had your passion with the interior design, and
Yes.
then you pursued this as a side hustle, an extra stream of revenue, a way of following your passion. I want to point that out because I think this is the time, especially when people are needing to look at, secondary ways to create revenue in their lives, or other ways that they can follow their passions that might end up turning into a business, or ways to invest in themselves that bring them joy, and maybe do, like you said, you found solutions to your own challenges
Yes.
because you invested this time in learning and education. So that's really relevant for the conversation we're having today. And you mentioned that you're not just a traditional nutritionist, you're not just giving me a meal plan, but you do a lot of focus on mindset and stress management. Now, how are the two connected to our nutrition, to what we're eating? Why is that so important?
Oh my goodness. I honestly think without mindset or self-care slash stress management, it's really, really difficult to go forward with any kind of health goal. So if you want to just have more energy, you want to, fit into your button pants better, anything like that, it's really, really hard to move forward without focusing on your why, focusing on why do I want to do this, or really getting clear on your goals. Because a lot of people have those January goals, but they have a hard time achieving them because they're doing too much of it
Yeah.
and they don't really dive deep into why am I doing this and what are my goals and what is this outcome? What is this amazing thing that's going to happen after? How am I going to feel? And the stress portion of it is it's really difficult. Stress causes a lot of health challenges, as most of us know. There's cortisol issues, there's things that happen in your body that cause inflammation, and it's really hard for your body to heal and repair if you're under chronic stress. So that's a huge one that I talk about all the time. So when I talk to a client, no matter how long our appointment is, we're usually talking mindset, and then physical, which is kind of food and moving your body. That's a mindset thing.
Mhm.
And stress. So we're usually talking about all of those things
Okay.
because it's important to talk about all together.
Yeah, the stress management one to me is one of the biggest ones, of course, is, our cortisol levels being out of whack makes it difficult for us to make different decisions about what we're eating or how we're fueling our bodies. And that kind of leads me to this other big question I have is I'm curious about how your business has changed, how the way you serve your clients has changed through the pandemic. Because let's be honest, a lot of the like lifestyle change programs and things that we had before, for me, traditionally, spring has always been a really big time for change.
Mhm.
You shed the layers of, your winter clothing. You suddenly realize that you just don't feel as good as you did. You don't have the energy. You're coming out of really, short days, and days are getting longer, and you want to make those changes in spring. It's like a time of renewal.
Yeah.
But spring, of course, was when we had a massive, massive,
Yeah.
the start of this pandemic. So I know my business changed really a lot because I wasn't doing the same programs that I did in the spring. So I'm wondering how that affected you and how you work with your clients.
Yeah, I mean, it did affect things because people really did not have the headspace for anything. It was a major change that was happening around the world, and it was scary, and it was like all of the mindset stuff come up, and people literally did not have the bandwidth to do anything but like figure it out. What's happening with my job and what's happening with you know everything, like how, what's happening with my family, how do we get groceries, how do so they're focused on those things, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to take a pause when crazy things are happening and focus on those things. So that's really kind of what happened, is people were taking that pause and figuring those things out. So yeah, I mean, definitely there was a slowdown, and the people, you know, who were coming, we talked even more about mindset, about what's happening in the world, and more of that stress. Like, how do we pivot? How do we reframe? How do we add that gratitude into our day so that we're not bogged down? How do we take a pause on all of the social media, right? Because you need those breaks, and that helps with the stress.
Yeah, there definitely was this moment where all we could do is figure out how to get through the day. And there was, you know, because we just knew so little about the virus and how it spread and everything, there was definitely a lot of fear and uncertainty. I think we're in a place now that we're getting better understanding, but there's still so much uncertainty. And you mentioned, of course, gratitude being one of those things that helps to get through that. And you mentioned as well, I was reading one of your blog posts, you know, you mentioned about taking the time to just breathe, right? Maybe we're not even getting into meditation, but maybe we're doing the breathing first. So what are some of your, you know, go-to stress management strategies when you're working with your clients, or even just that you use in your own life?
Yeah, absolutely. Breathing is one of them. Certainly when things like what's going on now, when it first happened, I was, you know, some of the newsletters and things I was sending out was, you have to feel your emotions. Don't pack them down, right? So if you're under all of this stress because of, you know, COVID, what was happening in the beginning, I'm like, everyone, feel your emotions first. And then if you need to like yell and scream, tell your family you're going to do that first. Any way that you can kind of, if you need to cry and release that emotion, do that first. Because then it helps you feel better. And then you need to kind of more focus into, as you say, the gratitude. But go-to for stress is breathing. I do that a lot with clients. We do the diaphragmatic breathing, and that gets you, you know, out of your stress levels. And I honestly tell my clients gratitude to get you out of stress. Like, that is one of my go-tos. If you're like having an immediate stress response, I am so grateful and thankful for, and honestly, it gives me tingles every time I say that. And then just say whatever you're so grateful and thankful for in that moment. And it knocks you right out of that you know, emotion, that stress, and it really helps you kind of come back. So those are two of the go-to for long-term kind of stress management. I know everyone is going to know it's meditation.
Sure. But I think it's important to focus on stuff that we can just do in the moment.
Yeah.
I think that's really clear. And the breathing is a really important one. So many of us walk around and we're only breathing, you know, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We're not breathing deeply at all throughout the day. Our cells are just not being oxygenated at all. Like, it's such a good reminder that, you know, before we can get into the eating different foods and changing our diets, it's to go back to the breathing and the gratitude first, which then allows us to be in a state of mind to make better choices and better decisions for ourselves and for our family and what we're putting into our bodies. So it's great to hear that from a nutritionist, that's your approach first, is like, this is where I start.
Yeah.
And then we work on the food.
Well, absolutely. Because I mean, you have to meet clients where they are in their health journey. I
Yep.
can't come and say, okay, all of a sudden I'm going to change your whole life. That does not work. So it's step by step, it's little by little, and those little steps compound into something very huge, and it's life changing.
Well, and speaking of little steps and changing your life, I heard that you wrote a book. And now that I understand your background a little bit, so your book, the main title is Redesign Your Interior. So that's a nod to your interior design. And if you could tell us a little bit more, and then if you can just remind me what the subtitle is of the book. But I was like, oh, that's why it's Redesign Your Interior, because she's an interior designer first and foremost. So very cool play on words there.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I worked in that field for a while. This is my main focus now. I just do that, you know, because it's hard to let go. That
Yeah.
design, you know, I have clients who just keep coming back. So
Oh, awesome.
It is. Creating beautiful spaces really makes a difference in your life as well, especially now with what's going on. Some
Yes.
people really, really need that. So yes, Redesign Your Interior was a nod to that. And it's 8 steps to reclaiming your health and creating a balanced life.
Oh,
So
awesome.
it's not a huge volume. It's very readable. I've heard people say that it sounds like me when they're reading it, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely want to write in your own voice. That's awesome.
So yeah, it sounds like me. It's an easy read. It's got exercises in there at the end of each, well, not every chapter, but the end of some of the chapters. Um, and it's really just a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that people may know, but then a lot that they may not, right?
Sure.
Right. So it's a reference book. And again, it leads to my website where you can get tools and resources, free resources and things like that as well.
Well, and I think sometimes if we're, there's so many options for us to work with health coaches and nutritionists and so many things. I mean, you know, there has to be a fit between you and the coach. I think is the biggest thing, is having an alignment between how the coach works in their way of working and how, you want to be as a client. So starting with a book like this, I know I saw it's available in Kindle form, or if you're local, to Ontario area, she can ship it to you very easily. But the nice thing is it's a small investment, but it really can, like you said, if it's written in your voice and it sounds like you, then you really understand, is Cynthia the right coach for me? So I love that option of, investing in the book. And I know you offer a free consult call. We all offer that, but having a book that people can take, they can read on their own. Sometimes that first call can be a little bit uncomfortable. You don't know the person, you're not sure what to say, but if they go and read your book first, it really gives them a chance to get to know you and understand how you work and how you think as a coach before working with you. So I love that idea. That's fantastic. Well done. And I love that nod to your other, well, I guess your first passion, I guess we would say, in terms of businesses. So that's absolutely fantastic. Awesome. Okay. So my big question for you is, you and I actually talked on with your group. You have a private group on Facebook. First, tell us a little bit about that group that you've created. Some people might want to check it out.
Yeah, it's called the Healthy Lady Boss Tribe. And originally I had it for women entrepreneurs, but I felt I was doing a real disservice to everybody else. So I changed the format for it. So being a healthy lady boss is more of some of the mantras we have for it is: I empower myself, I strive for balance, I love and respect myself, I'm confident, motivated, energetic, I feel joy, I make time for myself, I'm not last on my list, which is a huge one, especially for women, and I can do this. So these are some of the things that we focus on, and certainly why you were a wonderful guest on the in the group. And it's a group for women to come together to focus on their health and wellness, and be a part of a tribe that can support them. And that's why I have guest speakers come on and share their wisdom and really help people through that.
That is fantastic. So my question for you personally is, what does your daily gratitude practice look like, Cynthia?
That's an excellent one. I do a lot of gratitude during the day. So I do it in the shower because I'm just doing my thing. And, it just kind of, for me, that's a good way to do it. Since speaking to you, I'm definitely implementing a new one, having a little note beside my bedside table talking about gratitude. I loved that during our conversation. But gratitude is definitely a part of my life. If you don't focus on raising your energetic frequency to be happier and more joyful with gratitude, or however you want to do that, it's very difficult to not stay like, everyone's going to go through times of, oh, I'm angry at this or this, but you have, to kind of get yourself out of those. Gratitude is an excellent way to do that. And it's just catching yourself and coming back to like, hold on a second, I am grateful for these things. It really can help you through your day.
And it goes right back to, like you said, with the breathing and thinking of something you're grateful for, which is a simple thing we can all do throughout the day.
Absolutely.
Cynthia, I've loved our time together. Where do we find you? What's the best place to connect with you?
Absolutely. CynthiaBrace.com is my website. So there's a lot of resources there. I'm also on Instagram at Cynthia Brace, and the Healthy Lady Boss Tribe, of course, is where you can get more of me. On my website, there's also videos. So along with the book, there's a lot of interviews that I've done, and gets a little bit more, and you can see a little bit more of me being silly.
I love that part of you, the silly part. Well, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us and your passion, and how gratitude is a really big part of what you're doing with your clients. I appreciate that so much. It's just so great to know that, there's other people out there that are sharing gratitude like me. And really, thank you again, Cynthia, for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Julia. It was great.